I'm David Oliveira from Mining Weekly, speaking with ComplyWorks MD Nicolas Massain about the challenges faced by local mining contractors. What are some of the major challenges currently facing local mining contractors?
David, I think the challenges, there are a lot of them. Mining is in a very tumultuous phase at the moment. We all know that there's the inherent dichotomy between attracting mining investment and continued investment on the one hand, and on the other hand, ensuring that we satisfy the labour needs and requirements, as well as a political imperative to ensure that some of the value of mining produce and the beneficiation thereof goes back to South Africa. And in that context, it creates a very unstable mining environment. We have the Mineral and Petroleum Resources Development Amendment Act, which changes the playing field to a certain extent in the mining industry. And then we have the mining unrest that we know about that's been happening in the platinum industry lately. And in that sphere enters your mining contractor. So on the one hand, what happens? Mining houses are loath to invest and to grow their own employee base because of the labour disputes and the inherent risks to their business on that hand. And the result of that would be that they rely more and more on contractors to do specialist work and often to provide them with labour. So in that context, on the one hand, we have wonderful opportunities for mining contractors to really establish themselves, especially emerging mining contractors that are adequately capacitated and that's got the proper corporate governance in place to satisfy the legal and organizational requirements of these mines. But on the other hand, because of the uncertainty and the fact that there could be unrest and the fact that there's a volatile currency, the South African rand, also the fact that there's volatility in the value of resources. 1 month platinum is high, the next month is low, so with gold, so with chrome, etc. And on the basis of that, people make investment decisions. Therefore, often the services of contractors, they might have an extremely rosy picture looking for the next 6 months, but then suddenly they see that their contracts don't get renewed because there's not continued interest in a specific development or a resource. So in that regard, there's also a big risk for contractors. But as always, there's an upside and a downside to this. That's just on the economic reality. The other large problem experienced by contractors when they work for a couple of mining houses is that mining houses themselves have got many different requirements for compliance of these contractors working on their sites. And not only do the different mining houses have different requirements, but within those mining houses, we find that one shaft or one mine might have a different requirement to another mine. Maybe the operations are different. Maybe the appetite for risk of the engineer on site is different. It's a different operating environment. Therefore, it's becoming very difficult for contractor companies to ensure and prove compliance to those mining houses and the different jobs, the different sites, that they are indeed compliant from a company perspective, from an asset perspective, as well as from an employee perspective, that they can satisfy all the legal requirements of the Mine Health and Safety Act, that they satisfy all the operational requirements of that specific site, and also the requirements, the corporate standards that the different mines might impose on the contractors. So contractors have a hard time. They run around with check files under their arms trying to satisfy everyone. It takes a huge amount of time and resources and money to get that information from the contractors, which is essentially outside of the management systems of mines, to present it to the mines in such a way that it is user-friendly to consume for the entire audience that is in the mine. Because the mine has got many different levels that interact with the contractor. It might be your procurement, it might be your mine health and safety, it might be your environment, it might be operational requirements by the site engineer, and all of them with different information requirements. So there's a lot of overlap in extracting information and obtaining information from contractors. So that's probably one of the largest operational issues that these contractors have to deal with.
What services does ComplyWorks offer that best mitigate these challenges?
We feel that ComplyWorks addresses some of these issues in a very good way. In essence, what we offer ComplyWorks is a web-based platform. It's a management system where organizations or mining houses or industry can interact with their contractors, whereby all the different levels in those organizations can have their information requirements addressed. In other words, we extract the information and the compliance requirements in all the different levels of a business. We provide it in one framework for the contracting company to answer so that they can show there's compliance. In other words, they would answer the questions and they would provide the supporting documentation. And that obviously goes into a very nice platform web-based interface so that that employer organization can actually utilize real-time relevant information applicable to the different needs of the organization. They can consume it and they get notifications to tell them when things expire. They get a nice a dashboard view to see what the compliance of a contractor organization would be to the different compliance requirements within that organization. So it just makes the compliance interface as well as communication interface between the employer organization and between the contractor much easier. So the benefit to the contractor obviously would be they don't need to multiply and replicate the same amount of information, running around with the same safety file with a slight different twist from one shaft to another, because all of the information is on one system and can be extracted as and where needed in whatever format that mine requires, or that specific shaft or that job requires. So we feel there's a massive savings in time, there's a saving in resources, and what we also find is that the data quality provided by the contractors to these mining houses improve dramatically. Therefore, the due diligence for the mine improves, and also I think the overall risk profile relating to their contractors would reduce in the process.
That was ComplyWorks MD Nicolas Massain talking about the challenges faced by local mining contractors.